Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really cool new frontier in AI called protocol learning. The big idea here is training those massive AI models we always hear about, but not in some giant centralized data center. No, this is about doing it collaboratively over the open internet. So let's just kick things off with a huge question. What if we could build the next big AI model, not on a single expensive supercomputer, but by pooling together the resources of a global team of volunteers? Just regular people with their own computers and normal internet connections. Could that actually work? Well, to answer that, we're going to follow the journey of innovation here. We'll start with the quest itself, run smack into a huge technical challenge, kind of the dragon of the system, and then uncover the breakthroughs that might just change everything. All right, so first, what's our actual quest? The goal is what the researchers over at Pluralis.ai are calling protocol learning. It's basically a way for lots of different people to work together to train one single massive AI model, all from scratch. Okay, this slide gets right to the heart of the problem. You see, the standard way to do this is something called data parallelism, and it requires every single person to store the entire model on their machine. For consumer hardware, it's impossible. So that's a dead end for us. We have to use what's called pipeline parallelism, where we split the model up so each person only has to handle a little piece of it. But of course, pipeline parallelism has its own gigantic problem. When you split a model across the internet, all those little pieces have to constantly talk to each other. And they're passing massive amounts of data back and forth over connections that are thousands of times slower than what you'd find in a professional data center. And this is the dragon we need to slay. The data that gets sent between the layers, it's called activations, basically the processed info, can be hundreds of megabytes for every single step of the training. Trying to push that over your home internet connection? Yeah, it's painfully slow and it bottlenecks the whole process. So the obvious solution is just to compress the data, right? Make it smaller before you send it. But here's where the journey gets really tricky. Because the most common, most effective compression methods, they don't just fail here, they spectacularly backfire. So let's take a look at a really popular technique called top-K sparsification. In data parallelism, it works great. The idea is simple. You just keep the most important, say 10% or even 1% of the data, and you just toss the rest. It's super effective in that context. But in a pipeline? Oh, it's a total disaster. And here's why. In a pipeline, the first computer in the chain compresses its data, which introduces a tiny, tiny error. Then it passes that already flawed data to the next computer, which compresses it again and adds its own error before passing it on. You can see where this is going. The error just keeps piling up at every single step. The real problem is that the total error doesn't just add up, it can grow exponentially as you add more layers to the model. A whole series of tiny, insignificant errors cascades into a massive avalanche of bad data that completely wrecks the model's ability to learn anything at all. So, if compressing individual values fails so badly, what's the alternative? Well, the breakthrough comes from a really clever shift in perspective. Stop thinking about individual numbers and start thinking about the underlying structure of the data. The key insight here is that you have to preserve what's called the column space of the data. The best way to think about it is like the structural scaffolding for all the information. All the important math happens within this structure. Top-K compression, well, that's like randomly knocking out bricks from the scaffolding, which, as you can imagine, causes the whole thing to collapse. So this new method, it's called column-wise sparsification, does exactly that. Instead of picking out the most important individual values, it identifies the least important columns, the parts of that structural blueprint that are carrying the least amount of weight, and it just removes them entirely. It's like carefully taking out the non-load-bearing walls instead of just punching holes everywhere. And the results is, frankly, incredible. This method lets you achieve a 90% compression rate. You can literally throw away 90% of the data. But because you're doing it in the structurally intelligent way, it doesn't hurt the model's performance at all, even when you're training over a slow 80 megabit per second connection. This translates directly to a 2 times speed up in training time and a massive 12 times speed up for inference, which is how you actually use the model later on. The first weapon against our dragon has been forged. Okay, so we've solved for slow communication, but what about unreliable participants? I mean, in a decentralized network, computers can be slow, connections can drop, people might just decide to leave. We need a system that can actually handle all that chaos. The SWARM framework was actually designed for this exact problem. It's fault-tolerant, it can route data around nodes that have failed, but its original design created a brand new bottleneck. It was synchronous. This meant that the fastest computers in the network were forced to just sit there and wait for the absolute slowest one before anyone could move on to the next step. The solution is to just cut the cord. Let every node update asynchronously, at its own pace. But this creates a new, more subtle problem called gradient staleness. What that means is that the faster nodes might be working with slightly outdated information, simply because the slower nodes haven't sent in their latest updates yet. And this can really destabilize the whole training process. And here is our second weapon. It's a really clever use of an optimizer called Nesterov Accelerated Gradient, or NAG. You can think of it like this. Instead of just reacting to the last update it received, NAG looks at the current trajectory of the model's learning and anticipates where the model weights are probably heading next. It essentially looks ahead, compensating for the fact that some of the information might be stale, and that keeps the entire training process stable and on the right path. And the results here are super clear. Making SWARM asynchronous and using NAG provides a huge improvement in training time. We're talking up to 45% faster than the original synchronous version. So now the system is both resilient and fast. So the really crucial point here is that by combining these two powerful breakthroughs, the structured compression to handle slow networks and the asynchronous updates to handle unreliable people, we now have the foundational tools for true protocol learning. We've tackled the communication dragon, and we've beaten the synchronization beast. We've shown a clear path forward that makes this whole idea of training giant models collaboratively over the internet not just some pipe dream, but a practical possibility. This quote from the Pluralist team really captures the entire vision. The future of AI development might not be about building bigger and bigger centralized data centers. It might be about building smarter protocols that allow all of us to work together to pool our resources. And that leaves us with a final thought. With tools like these, the power to build foundational AI is no longer limited to just a few giant corporations. It's actually becoming open to everyone. So the question is, what will we all build then?